Hey, what's up guys? I'm Bill with Rough Country, and today I want to introduce to you our new Jeep JK long arm suspension system. And as you can see pictured, there's a lot of pieces in this kit, and I'm going to run through a quick list of what all is included. New coil springs, long arms, flex joints, heavy duty crossmember, a complete set of performance shocks by Rough Country, front adjustable track bar, bump stop extensions, sway bar disconnects, stainless steel brake lines, and a 1/4 inch thick skid plate, all part of the long arm system. So now we've ran through all the pieces, let's talk about what kind of kits we've got for it. We have a 2.5, a 4, and a 6-inch suspension system set up, as well as a long arm upgrade. So if you already have a Rough Country kit on your Jeep, you can purchase just the long arm setup. Alright, now that we've covered the kits, let's get into the installation and take a look at how this goes on. Okay, because our JK is already lifted, we're going to start first by removing the control arms. Of course, we'll start with the upper arm, and then we'll remove the lower arm. Once we've got the arms off, we'll actually start taking the skid plates off around the cross member underneath the Jeep. With the skid plates removed, next we pull off our cross member. Now we can go ahead and take out one side of the bolts, but before you let the cross member completely out, we need to put a support jack underneath the transmission. Once the transmission is supported, you can pull out the crossmember, and next we're going to start the fun part, which is cutting off the upper control arm mounts. We're actually using a plasma cutter to cut off these control arm mounts, and once those are cut, we'll go back with a hand grinder and we'll smooth out the edges to give it a finished look, and we'll even put a little spray paint on there just to keep that from rusting. With our control arm mounts cut off, now we can install Rough Country's beefy version, if you'll notice, of the stock crossmember. It's a good idea to have a friend help you place the crossmember in, because it's a little bit heavy and it'll be tricky to line up those bolt holes by yourself. And once aligned, simply slide the crossmember bolts through, and we'll move on to our next step. Now this looks bad, but all he's doing is knocking loose a welded nut inside the frame rail, because we're going to need that spot in the frame to attach our crossmember support bracket, which you see here. First you'll install the support bracket to your crossmember. Just hand tighten those down, and then install your flag nut into the frame rail. Once you've got the flag nut in, just hand tighten the bolts into that flag nut just to keep that support bracket there. We're not going to tighten it up yet. We're actually going to get the control arms in first. Now that the support bracket is held on, we will grab our long arms and we'll start the installation. If you are installing or you have a 4 or 6 inch suspension lift, we've got measurements in the instruction sheets to set these arms at. Go ahead and do that before we install them. Once you have the length set, install your lower arm, and then of course you can install your upper arm after that. Once the arms are in, we'll move back to our support brackets and we'll tighten those down on the frame rail and on the cross member. And on our long arms, we'll go ahead and tighten down the flex joints, but we're going to leave the axle mounts loose. We're going to tighten those once we get the Jeep back on the ground. Now let's move to the rear of the Jeep and start on the rear control arms. First we'll line up our rear control arm bracket with the large frame hole and the rear body cab bushing, and drill out the bolt locations using our bracket as a template. Once you have the holes drilled on the outside of the frame rail, we'll go ahead and put in 1 or 2 of the bolts to hold it secure to the frame, and we're going to move underneath the frame rail and drill the 3 holes on the bottom side of the bracket. Now that we've got all of our holes drilled, we can start securing the bracket to the frame rail using the flag nuts that are supplied in the kit. Once our bracket is secured to the frame rail, we can go ahead and install our rear control arms. Once the lower arm is installed, we'll go ahead and install the upper arm. And again, just like on the front, we'll tighten down the flex joint, but leave the axle mounts loose for later. Next is our rear track bar bracket / support bar. As you can see, once the track bar bracket goes into the factory position, there's also a support bar that runs down to the back side of the shock mount on the axle. This helps support the track bar and keep any flex from being in there and having the Jeep feel loose when driving. Now for a sweet surprise in this kit, on the upper shock mount we're actually going to put in bar pin eliminators. Get rid of those pesky things and keep those from breaking on you in the future. Once the bar pin eliminator is installed, we can start reassembling the Jeep. We put our shocks on, then our coil springs, put our tires back on, and now it's time to take the Jeep out for a little testing. We're excited about our new JK long arm suspension edition, and we hope you are too. Contact your local dealer to get yours today. For Rough Country Suspensions, I'm Ben. We'll see you later.